Hello again, everybody. This is Mr. Everything, and I'm coming at you with another Wargaming in miniature video. And today what we're doing is we are going to be cutting some circles, and I'm using this Tamiya bottle because it is the same size and shape of a Robotech Tactics base. And so what I needed a template, and I don't have any kind of circular template available. So I went through all my bottles and found one that matched about the right size. And it looks like the Tamiya bottles are perfect. They have the right curvature and everything. So then I take my pen and I draw a circle. Now these are roads that I printed from Sarnanet. These roads are Battletech roads, but they work just fine for Robotech RPG Tactics basing materials. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out enough roads to cover all of my Regults and Officer Pod. And so instead of using an X-Acto knife to try to cut a perfect circle, I've decided I'm just going to use scissors because I have a lot of control over scissors and I prefer them when I'm cutting into circles. So here we go. Let me cut this circle out here and we can start mounting that on a base. Now in this case, I kind of put that circle in a position where you see a little bit of the dashed roads on two sides, so you actually get the dash. On other circles, I'll put it directly over and I'll try left and right lanes. Doesn't matter. Basically, I probably shouldn't have put them as far apart, but this is really just for demo purposes. To save paper, I guess I could have had them all touching when I was starting to cut it out. And I probably could have also made that road printout a lot more high resolution. I was just basically going to save ink, and so I printed it at a faster resolution. Okay, or a faster speed. Okay, so once we get this cut out, if I ever do get it cut out, then what we'll do is we'll go ahead and mount it onto a base. Now the circles that I've drawn, if you were watching, the Tamiya bottle has a curve underneath, and I was trying to draw it as close to the inside of the curve as possible because I just want the circle that I cut out to sit on the top portion of the base. I didn't want it to overlap. And I cut two out at the same time because I have two sets of roads. Now I've got quite a few bases that I need to do, about 30 bases. So let me do a little bit of cutting out, and then what we'll do is we'll mount it on these bases. Now what I've also done is I'm going to use Elmer's glue. What I've done is I've added a little water to this Elmer's glue, so you'll see it'll come out as drips. You'll see it drop, 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 drop. Okay, it's wet. And then I just take my finger, which I use as an applicator, and I'll just move it around and cover the entire top of the base. Let me see if I can hold this without getting glue all over my fingers. Okay, well, one finger is going to have quite a bit of glue on it, and that's okay, because once I get the glue completely applied to the entire base, there will be some glue remaining on my finger, which I use as a top coat to the basing sheet that I printed. Now I did print this on paper and not cardstock because there's no need for it, because it's just going straight on your base, so there's no need to have any kind of cardstock because the base is going to hold it rigid. Okay, so it sits on the base just like that, but then I want to take the glue that's on my finger and I'm going to go around the edges with it. Right now I'm just pressing it down to get all the air bubbles out, just to make sure that if there was any air bubbles I would have gotten it out. Now I'm going to take the glue that's on my finger and I'm going to dab it onto the edges, and I use an outward motion to kind of just make the edges of the paper just lay flat, you know. There we go. That should do it. And it cleans off your finger too, by the way. Looks good. Set it off to the side. Now we go do a second one. Now it's wet, so you're going to see it's kind of got that sheen of the glue, but you know Elmer's glue, when it dries clear, and that's true for the base too. So we're going to spread it around. You can make sure you get an even coat. It doesn't really matter about the even coat, to be honest, but you want to make sure that it is coated completely on the base. And I don't say it matters on the even coat, because when you put the paper down and you press out all the bubbles, if any glue gets squeezed out the sides, that's okay, because you're just going to fix it when you do your edge work with the glue that's still stuck on your finger. So now what I'm doing is pressing it down, making sure it's a good solid connection, all the air bubbles are out. Now, you know, because it's wet glue, it will kind of soak into the paper, and that's great. That's perfect. You want it to do that, and then it'll also what's the word I'm looking for? It'll make it a little bit more rigid, and it'll give it a kind of a sealant. When you have the Elmer's glue all through the paper, it's kind of like a clear lacquer. Almost. I mean, but I understand it's just Elmer's glue, but it works like a lacquer. Okay, let's put this down so we can let it dry, and then we'll get back to it after about 10 to 15 minutes. Okay, we get these two bases. They're dry. I've got a Regults here, and I can use a thicker Elmer's glue, not the one that's watered down, but I'm using a thicker Elmer's glue on the base of the feet, so that they will stick down onto the paper. Line it up so that we got the front lined up with the front, sides lined up with the sides. Maybe apply a little bit of pressure to let the Elmer's glue dry, and then I just set it off to the side. Now, with this second base, what I wanted to do is show you how we're going to put a flight base or a leaping base. Some people call them a swoosh base. I use super glue for that because the Elmer's glue would just take too long to dry, and it doesn't stand up on its own. So I hold it down and apply a little bit of pressure, ensuring it's flat against the base, allowing the super glue to dry. Okay, something's not right. Okay, line it up. Get back there. What the heck? Okay, now just hold it, and I usually hold it for about 30 seconds to a minute to allow it to dry. In this case, I didn't even have to do that. It dried very fast. It did wobble a little bit, so I went back to holding it, and voila. It is not completely dry, but it's dry enough to stand on its own. Now we have, I've already done a couple earlier. I'm going to show you those two. Got the guy running there, and I've got another guy just standing there. And these are the 4 Regults I've done so far for you. You can kind of see how the base looks. You can use different types of roads or asphalt terrain or whatever you want. You can print out any kind of terrain, but I wanted it. Now I kind of need to do the edging a little bit, repair the edging on the bases, but mainly what I was wanting to show you was just print out some roads, cut them into circles, glue them on your base before you glue your miniature down, and you're done. And I've got to do that for the rest of my models. Alright, well, thank you for coming out and checking out this video. If you liked it, please subscribe, and good hunting.